Hello, everyone. Good morning. Happy Thursday morning. I hope that this morning finds you very well, that you have your coffee or tea or whatever morning beverage it is that makes your morning awesome. And it's so good to see you. So we are here today. I'm so excited to share Darla with you. Darla Pompilio from Your Task, Our Time. She's a professional organizer. And I don't know if you know, but January, Facebook world, is National Organization Month. Yes. So welcome, Darla. It's so good to have you here and be chatting with you. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you. I am so excited to be here, and I really appreciate the opportunity. So thank you for having me.
Yes, it's so good to have you here. So you are a professional organizer, which means that you just generally are saving people's sanity on a daily basis. And since it's National Organization Month, I wanted to take the opportunity. We've had some really awesome conversations about your skill set and about how overwhelming disorganization can be. And, you know, having these conversations with you, I just wanted to share it with the rest of the world. And
Thank you.
yeah. And so the first place I wanted to start out was, I was thinking about how is it that we get so disorganized? It's so easy. So how is it that this comes to happen? How is it this comes to be?
Well, what we see most often in most homes is just the sheer amount of stuff that people have.
Yeah.
They just have too much stuff for the space.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as Americans, we're just used to being surrounded by a lot, right? We buy. And the fact of the matter is you can't organize yourself out of having too much stuff. You can't.
Oh my gosh. I just want to snip it right there. You cannot organize yourself out of having too much stuff. That is gold.
You can't do it. So it's about, having the appropriate amount of stuff for the space that you have. And that's different for every person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we see people get stuck most often.
Mm-hmm.
Organizing is really just a process of sorting and categorizing. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So, when you sort and categorize your stuff and you see how many pencils you have, there's a huge difference between organizing and finding solutions for 600 pencils versus a dozen, right?
Right.
Big difference. And if you don't know what you have, if you don't go through that sorting and categorizing process first, then you can't really get organized. You have to know what you have.
Yeah.
And start there. And it also informs your decision about what to keep and what to let go. So you sort, you categorize, and then you know how much you need to purge based on the space that you own, right?
Right. Yes.
So the stuff will actually tell you how to organize it. Your stuff will talk to you.
Yes. I started saying, so my stuff is speaking to me.
It will talk to you. It will say, hey,
oh, that's brilliant. I love that. That is so.
Yeah. So what's going to be the solution? That will inform your, and what we see all the time is people will go out and, the Container Store, that's like candy. That's even candy to us, right? So, they'll go out and they'll buy all their pretty little organizing solutions. And I know this will help somehow. And it's just backwards. It's completely backwards. So you have to sort, categorize, and purge, and let your stuff talk to you, and it will tell you how it needs to be organized.
Oh my God.
Tell you what the solution is.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's so good. There's one thing as you're talking that I feel like what I'm about to say is going to resonate with a lot of people. I could be wrong, but as you're talking and you're talking about, sorting, categorizing and stuff like that, the first thing that pops into my mind is, okay, so that means first I need to look at it, which I feel like And in my mind, I automatically go to like that closet, that closet or that space or that basement or that thing, and you're like, and you walk down the steps to the basement or whatever it is, and you look in and you're like, oh, okay, all right.
I put my eyes shut for a reason. Yeah.
Right. And so that's the first thing I thought was like the overwhelm of having to look at it. But that's also why you're awesome. So yeah, that brings us.
It is overwhelming too. It is. It is. It's all encompassing. It can be. It sucks the life out of it sucks the life out of you. It really does.
Yeah. I I guess 2019, we had done a really hardcore purge of our home, and it just felt so good. And I don't know if we got super organized overall, other than to say that we got rid of a lot of stuff. And it just felt like such a weight, And when I walked into my home at the end of the day, because really that's what it's about, is walking in and feeling good. And it was just so good to like walk in and not be completely overwhelmed. And so just purging was huge.
Were you able to better find what, your items, find them and put them away when you were done?
Yes. Absolutely.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Being able to find your stuff when you need it and want it, right? Without having to.
Yeah. What good's the stuff? What good's the stuff when you can't find it? So absolutely.
Exactly.
So that's a great segue into, I would just love to hear from you some basic tips for how we can climb out of our disorganization. What are some things that we can implement today to better save our own sanity and manage our stuff?
Well, like I said, the trick is to have less of it. So I would start with small spaces. If you're trying to get organized and you're feeling overwhelmed by, don't start with that entire basement in one shot. Start with like a linen closet, something small. And start with those things that you're not attached to, like all that. Well, the term used to be in my day, Tupperware, but really plasticware. Start somewhere where the stuff you're not attached to it.
Yeah.
And then kind of build from there. And, when you are sorting and categorizing, you want to make sure that you want to sort by categories and how you use the items.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, if you want to have, let's say, a wrapping station, right? Say you're crafty and you want a wrapping station. Then you want to have all the items that you're going to use at that wrapping station. So you want to have the paper, the scissors, the tape, and it's okay to have these items in more than one place in your house. I think people think, oh, all my tape should be together in one place.
Oh, right.
You might use tape in the office. You might use tape in the kitchen. You might use tape in your wrapping station. Where do you need the stuff? And having all those items together so that when you go to wrap a gift, you got the tape, you got the paper, you got the scissors, you got the space, you carved out a little space. So thinking about how you're going to use the items that you're keeping. And then, like I said, start small. And I would suggest containerize. I cannot, and I'm not talking, when I think about containers, I think about being able to have easy access. So when a lot of people will clean out their closet and get containers with lids, and then they stack the containers one on top of the other. And then when they go to get something, it's a pain in the backside because you have to unload everything to get what you want and then reload it again. So we like to stand things up. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to write a book about that because I stand up everything from underwear to paper. I mean, I stand everything up, and there's a way to do it. And so, because then it becomes like a filing system. Everything's like a filing system. You can file your shirts. You can file your underwear. You can file your socks. You can file. So, you know, so
I'm
using
loving.
as
Yes,
opposed to
I'm loving two things right now. One is filing my underwear. That sounds amazing. And two, I really want the name of the book to be called "Stand Up for Yourself." And it's old.
I didn't give a name. Wait a minute, I got to write that down. Stand up for yourself. Thank you.
So I'm gonna hit a couple comments we had come up here. JD says my stuff screams. So his stuff is speaking to him very loudly. His stuff screams, "Keep me, never let me go." So he might need you to come into his world directly and help translate some of that screaming and maybe turn the screaming into a casual conversation.
Well, JD, here's a thought. So the thought is, when everything in your life is important, then nothing is. So, you know, you want to surround yourself with things that are going to serve you now and possibly in the future, but mostly right now. What is actually serving you? What is going to help you live your life the way you want to live it?
What is serving you? So he had a follow-up statement, which is great. He said, any advice for folks with ADHD and problems with out of sight, out of mind? And so that's really good point. Yeah. So do you have any tips for individuals with ADHD?
Yeah, ADHD is hard because they're often looking for that shiny object. They're often looking for that better solution, better solution, better solution, better solution. So they keep buying things to, try to organize themselves out of, they like the shiny objects. And there's the attention deficit piece of it, so they're bouncing. That's what the shiny object thing's about. They're bouncing from one thing to the next in rapid succession. So again, having less to put away is huge. Having less and having organizing solutions where you don't really have things out of sight. There are systems that you can put in place that are open organizing solutions. You don't have to have things hidden from you.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's a great point. And it sounds like you're saying too, I want to circle back to that whole asking. It sounds like you're really asking yourself, does this serve me? How does it serve me? And like you said, I feel like that can get overwhelming in itself. But if, like you said, you start with something small, a small space or a desk or something like that, and you just start implementing a drawer. Yeah.
A drawer is a fine place to start. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And kind of build from there. And so thanks, JD. Those are great questions for sure. And yeah. And so I think I'm going to carry that forward for myself, as really asking myself, does this serve me? How does it serve me? Because that's really a principle that I have in my life in general, just in life. And it's funny that I, hadn't really considered applying it to the stuff that's around me as much, or thinking of it that way. So that's great. I love that. Tamara's tuning in, and she says that she loves the outreach to the community. And it's clear that we want to help people. And she says that she has some things to work on right now, so she's going to catch the rest of it later. Well, thank you, Tamara, for tuning in for a few minutes. That's awesome. So what are some of the services that you provide? We've talked about some of the basic tips and skills that people can integrate into their lives. And I will say that if anybody else out there has any comments or questions, please hop in and put your comment in the feed, and we will get to your question. We'll get to your comment before we bring it to a close. But Darla, what are some of the services that you offer at your task hour time that help people get a hold on their organization and their lives?
Sure. So we do residential organizing, which is any space in the home, as well as storage units, garages, basements, sheds, any space in the home. We do a lot of paper management for people because, paper seems to be the scourge of our existence before this pandemic.
Yeah.
uh, and we do small business organizing, which is usually about productivity, time management, paper management, sometimes rearranging the space, space management. But we are a full service organizing business. So we are senior move managers. So we help seniors to downsize, get packed up, get moved, and then we completely settle them. We unpack them, we organize them, get them settled in their space. We do relocations. We help people who have moved into the area. If they want to hit the ground running, we can come in and as a team and unpack and settle them, or unpack and organize them. So that might be just bedrooms, bathrooms, and kitchens just to get them started, or if we could do the whole house.
Right.
We can do so relocation, senior move management, and the organizing. Really, those are the three basic things that we do. That gives us, we're, like I said, full service organizing business.
Yeah.
So.
Well, one of the things that I loved about our first conversation together, that was so poignant to me and really set apart how much you care about what you do and how much you care about the people that you work with, is we talked about senior moving, for instance, where, when I think about it, I'm like, oh, wow, first off, that's really helpful and great. You come in, help organize, help them pack, move, and get them settled in. But the settled in portion of it was so huge. And it wasn't just like, oh, we're going to make it look nice and we're going to make it organized. The thing that I loved hearing you talk about was the attention to detail about what it was that person needed. And so if they were used to the nightstand being on, or the table stand being to the left of the sofa, and, and their phone was always there, and they always had like a notepad there, something, whatever it was that made sense for them in their life, that was important to them. It wasn't just about coming in and making it organized and making it look nice. It was about making it familiar in a way.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly what we do. We come in, we have a long conversation with them, just kind of in the same way that when you were helping me with my branding, you had that discovery conversation. We have that discovery conversation with them and find out, what's important to them, how they've been living their life. We take photos, so like you said, if that table is next to their chair and their meds and whatever else is there on a regular basis, we're going to put it back. We're going to make sure that, their drawers are, if especially if they're taking the same furniture, we'll mark them and say, okay, this is where the underwear are. This is where the shirts were. This is where the pajamas are. It's going to go back to where it was, because we don't want to disorient them. And we're dealing with seniors, in their 80s and 90s sometimes. So, some are extremely lucid and on their game, and some less so, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so we make sure that we set it up so they can hit the ground running. They can find their stuff. Their toothpaste was on the right side of the bathroom. It's going to be on the right side of the bathroom.
Right.
We make sure that they are hitting the ground running, because, they're moving to a new environment. And, there's the social aspect. They're not going to want to be hanging out in their new apartment. They're going to be wanting to get out in the community. So if we're going to do it for them, we're going to lay it out.
Right.
And let them go out and do their thing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so awesome. And what a relief I can imagine that must be for so many families, the kids of those seniors, for one, in addition to the seniors themselves. But just, the whole aspect of it, and the holistic aspect of it, is really wonderful. And I think, that was that core component of that care and that attention to detail, and non-judgmental, non-dogmatic, not like, well, it would make more sense if your meds were over here. That appreciation and that respect for the autonomous person, I think, is huge. I can imagine that when people are thinking about bringing an organization service in, they might be afraid of being judged. And, you know, the thing that resonated for me when we talked was just that care and just that wanting to help and really being tuned in. I think you had said, you know, when people call me, they're tired. There's a pain point there, and you really care about that, and you really want to speak to that, and you really want to serve those people as best you can, and have no interest whatsoever in offering judgment or being preachy or anything like that. It's all about serving those people and finding solutions for them that work best, which is just so awesome.
Yeah, that is exactly what it's all about. You can't come in from a place of judgment and actually help.
Yeah.
They don't work together. You know, it has to be all about the client. And we do have, you know, sometimes people will come to us like the children of the client.
Right.
And they'll want to pay for it, and then they want to have a say. But they don't.
Right. Right.
The only time they have a say is if there's some mental incapacity going on.
Right.
Right. That's a different thing than you know, and it has to be all legal. But you know, it is their move and their life, and it's all about what's best for them. And what makes them happy, you know? So, you know what, I mean, and let's face it, at that age, they deserve whatever the heck they want to make them.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And we do it, and we hang their pictures, and we make their bed, and we, you know?
That's awesome.
So it's all about that. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So as we kind of draw to a close here, first I want to say JD said thank you so much. I think that your perspective for him was revolutionary. So that was awesome. So lastly, what are some basic tips for staying organized? So we look at it, we face the disorganization, we let our stuff speak to us. And we ask what serves us, and we categorize, and, you know, we do all these things. Or even better yet, which is my personal favorite, is we just call you.
My personal favorite too.
Yeah, exactly. Because I got to tell you, I am all about outsourcing. I have a limited bandwidth. And if I really need it done, then I'm going to call the professional, because I have puppy. Listen, Darla, I'm going to shoot you straight. I got puppies to snuggle, and I have hikes to go on with my husband. I think, you know, I would just be calling you. But once we go through that, you know, implement some of those steps that you talked about, what are some key steps for staying organized?
Really paying attention to what you bring into your life is huge. It all comes back to how much stuff you have, honestly. You know, really, once you've got it organized, then and it's working. Sometimes you're organized, just a little caveat here. Sometimes you organize and you find out that what you didn't work. So the thing to do is to look at it and say, okay, why? You know, you start ripping it apart. Not the physical solution, but what you did. You know, like, why is this not working? And there are things in your life that do work, that are organized. Okay, why do those things work for me? Like ripping it apart mentally in that way. So to stay organized, if you've got it organized and it is working for you, just not overwhelming the system, you know, not bringing in so much to the system that it crashes it. And, you know, staying organized is about consistency. It's about, you know, keeping it that way. You know, if you come in and you have an organized system and you don't put the stuff back into the system, you know, like if you have a bookcase and you come in, you drop the book on the floor as opposed to put the book where it goes because you have a place for it, it's not going to stay that way, right?
Right.
So you have to take the responsibility of using the system.
Right.
Right. So there's that. So not overwhelming it with too much stuff, taking responsibility of using the system. And as life changes, our organizing systems are going to change. So,
Ooh.
right. So, in college, it's going to be one thing because you have no children, right? Or
Right.
most likely you have no children. You're going to get married, probably, maybe have kids, maybe. And right there, your whole the systems that work for you when you're in college are going to completely blow up. They're not going to work anymore. So you want to pay attention and work, when your life changes, your systems are going to change. So bearing that in mind. So, life is about change. It's not about being static. Life is always changing, changing, changing. Your systems are going to change too. So just being aware of that and not beating yourself up because your life has changed and your system fell apart. Well,
Yeah.
so what? Now it's just time to change it. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay.
Here we go. Yeah. That's awesome. And that's so true. So true and so poignant as well. I love that. Thank you. So, thank you so much for joining us. You've given us so much important information to really think about. And if people want to find you, scrolling down here at the bottom of our little conversation is your website, if they'd like to find out more about what you do. But how else can people find you and get a hold of you if they'd like to talk about bringing a professional on for organizing?
Sure. So we are on Facebook, Your Tasks Are Time. We are on Instagram. We are on Twitter. I'll be honest with you, Twitter's not my favorite.
Me neither.
But I am on Instagram. At Facebook, you can definitely reach me. And LinkedIn is another good one.
Right. Yeah.
So those are, and you can call me. You can call me at, can I give the phone number?
Yeah, sure.
610-847-5422. 610-847-5422.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that's how you can reach us.
That's great. Yeah, that's wonderful. And the reason that you and I, our paths crossed was because you came to us for a series of branding photos, and we had so much fun. It was so great having you in the studio. We loved it.
One of my best decisions, that and refreshing the website itself, one of my best decisions that I've made since I started my business. It was such an amazing experience. Your discovery conversation blew me away because you really got to the heart of what we are trying to do. You really heard, as is evident by our conversation today, what our business is about, who we represent, what we're trying to do, who we want to help. And you and your husband brought that to the table during the session, me and our team. Really, it spoke volumes, and the photos were amazing.
Thank you. It really was. It's such a joy. And I think that's one of our favorite parts of what we do is really getting to the heart of the mission and the message of each person we serve that comes into our studio. So as you can tell, I love hearing about what it is that matters most to you in your business and then bringing that to life in front of the camera. And the awesome thing that happens is often when I have these discoveries, when I have these conversations, I'm like, everybody else needs to hear this, which is how curiosity and coffee began. I was like, we can do this. Let's just talk about it.
That's what amazes me about you. You really know how to pull all of that together and really, it blows me away.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. And you guys rocked it in your session. I noticed when I went to your website today, you had this awesome pop-up of one of the photos where you guys were saying that you're PPE ready.
Yeah.
I was like, I know that photo. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it was awesome. It was awesome having you into the studio, putting that together, hearing about what mattered most, hearing about what you wanted to say to your clients, and then creating a series of photos and a portfolio of photos that you could use to speak directly to your clients and speak to your brand, and for your website, for your blogs, for your social media posts, all that content and stuff. Yeah. So it was awesome. And so I knew I had to have you. I knew I had to have you on Curiosity and Coffee after we spoke then. And so I wanted to shine a light before we go on our branding campaign that we're doing this month. And so entrepreneurs, corporate decision makers, influencers, who would like to participate, who need to refresh, and develop a portfolio of content for their brand that's more than just headshots. In January, 10% of the profits from our branding sessions are going back to Manna on Main, which is our local food pantry, soup kitchen, and community services entity that does amazing work. So we're very excited about that. Yeah. So we're super excited to be doing that. Dave and I were just talking about how this pandemic has hit so many people so hard. And it just made sense that, those of us, as we're moving through 2021 and we're thinking about all of the things to elevate our world and our experiences, when we need to do those branding photos, why not make it go farther for the community as well and help those in need? So help ourselves and also help our community. And so people can reach out to me at kristenkidphotography.com. They can comment in this feed as well if they'd like to hear more about that. Or you guys out there can just personal message me on social media and say, hey, heard something about branding package benefiting local food pantry, soup kitchen. Tell me more, and we'll get you all taken care of. And then if anyone would like to share this episode where we talk about organization, you've got somebody, a loved one in your life that you're like, you know what, they would really love this. They need to ask themselves if their things are serving them and they need to listen to their things. So if you'd love to share this, you can find it on YouTube, probably by the end of today. So check us out there. You'll see other episodes of Curiosity and Coffee. Darla Pompilio, your task, our time. Thank you so much for being here. It's been awesome. Thank you. Best of luck and the best of everything to you in 2021.
You as well.
All right. Bye, Facebook world.